Okay. I'm kind of curious about this one. This one, firearm expert. So I never fucking played CS:GO, and I'll never fucking play CS:GO because my aim is so bad. I might log in into fucking CS:GO, try to shoot for an enemy and kill an actual civilian outside by accident just because I am so bad at aiming. Like, don't believe me, happened more than once and I got arrested, so I don't care. It's anyway. So this dude compares like the fire guns, or talk about the fire guns from CS:GO. Uh, let's check this out. Like, I'll fucking.
This is John.
Oh, by the way, let me check if the stream is still my voice. Okay, everything is working. Then everything kind of nice, mega nice.
Jonathan Ferguson, the keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Army's Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And today, he's getting all nostalgic looking at the weapons of Valve's iconic shooter franchise, Counter-Strike.
Wow, the ultimate tribute, getting sprayed on the wall in a Counter-Strike game.
If there are any other games, guns, and mechanics that you guys want to see Jonathan break down, let us know in the comment section below. Make sure to subscribe for more videos just like this, and if you'd like to help out the Royal Army's Museum and continue to support Jonathan's work, check out the links in the description of this video. Right, over to Jonathan.
And if you don't want to fucking support any of that because you're just a jerk and just a bad person, well, you get the chance to not fucking do any of what they offered you the chance to do. No cap.
Pause there. The deagle. Nature's beautiful deagle. Correct me if I'm wrong, comment section, but I'm pretty sure that's where the contraction deagle originated. I have got one here. So this is, of course, absolutely iconic by the time Counter-Strike was conceived of as the ultimate action movie handgun. Counter-Strike did quite a good job for the time, the original graphics, at representing that. All the angles on it are a little bit rounded off. I don't know if they were showing off how many polygons they had, but the Desert Eagle, the real one, is famously extremely angular, and for me, the model in the game is quite rounded. There's also a symptom of something that I think we'll see, certainly throughout all the original Counter-Strike guns, which is that as soon as you hit reload, the slide magically locks itself open. Of course, there's no reason why that would happen, and that's just a shortcut in the reload animation, where it's cutting straight to the slide lock reload, as we would call it. You know, I remember I played a lot of Counter.
Yeah, so basically, when I'm not sure. Yeah, this goes on YouTube. So when you are using the gun, right? Let's say that this is a. Let's say that. Let's let's say that. This looks close enough. So let's say that this is a gun. This is the trigger, and basically this like recharge. When you actually like. So when you actually like fucking like put so this thing goes downwards, you need to press a little button, like you need to press a gear, and then it goes, the blowback basically goes back into the gun. It's not, it doesn't fucking happen when you fucking put the ammo back. Like it doesn't fucking functions when you put, how is this called, like the fucking the reload, the ammunition back.
Counter-Strike beta back in the day. Probably one of the few games where I did use the Desert Eagle by choice. This is like some sort of reminiscence therapy for me. It's that long ago that I played Counter-Strike. So the Arctic Warfare, the Accuracy International, bolt-action sniper rifle. I think this is meant to be the Magnum, so 300 Win Mag or 338. The glaring thing here, which we'll see with a lot of other models, I'm sure, is the left-handed arrangement. Now, a very helpful viewer contacted me after a previous video that we did on Bad Company 2, where I commented on the left-hand ejection of the guns in that game and how that used to annoy me. I had completely forgotten that in, well, all versions of Counter-Strike, the guns are, if you have them right-handed, they're mirrored. And I wasn't even aware that this was the issue. I just thought, oh, for some reason they've modelled everything on the left-hand side. It must be so you can see the cartridge cases flying. And, well, I'm not so sure about that theory now, because it turns out the original developer of Counter-Strike was left-handed and modelled everything in the game to be shown left-handed, and therefore with the ejection port and the bolt handle and all of that on the right hand side where it should be. But because most players...
So basically, I'll show you just real quick what it's so why right-handed or left-handed actually like is important when it comes to guns. Okay, I will tell you why. So check this out. So look at this part of the gun, right?
On the right.
Did you saw the bullet? Like the bullet, like basically like what's left of the bullet that fell. You know why you fucking like do not do that as a left-hander? Because basically this thing is burning hot. Like the shell of the bullet is burning hot. And basically you need this this shell to be like to not actually like risk falling onto you, because it can burn your jeans. It can leave you like a bullet shell empty like that just got fired can fucking burn your arm, bro. And so this is why like basically, you know, like let me take my fucking like thing that looks like a gun, you know, like people shooting like this in video, like in real life. Well, technically you're supposed to shoot like this, and so the bullet shell, it goes here. You know, I know one fucking does this, because the bullet shell, it does this and it does this, and you look like the fucking dumbest moron ever, because this type of burns, it's not fucking like it's not fucking you burned yourself on a cigarette or something, bro. It's metal. It makes your fucking like skin melt right away. So that's why the people with Kalashnikovs that like aim like this, right? No, you don't do that, bro. Like, you don't fucking do that because you don't want to fucking injure your fucking arms or hands. And it's the same with the fucking, like, you want to go gangsta. Well, yeah, like, gangsters are gangster for a reason, bro. Like, because they risk, just to look cool, they risk themselves fucking 5-degree burns and fucking to go to the hospital because they just wanted to look cool, okay? But like basically like, and when it comes to like logic, so basically like if you're usually on assault rifles, basically your assault rifles, it's so realistic, this replica of like a fire weapon, basically usually the cell opening case goes left. So if you're like this, technically you aim like this, right? Or you aim close to, basically you aim in many different positions, right? And basically like if it is close to your shoulder, like you risk to burn your whatever the fuck you're wearing or yourself. And this is why like if the shell goes here, you aim it like this, so the shell always go far away from you. That is dumb logic, but like if you don't know, it's really like you really wouldn't understand why the fuck this dude got triggered and offended because of like just it's the choice of like the fucking like right hand left hand weapon in a video game.
Hand side where it should be, but because most players are right-handed, the game would be set up with the gun modelled on the right side, but to do that they had to flip the image. So you end up with all your guns the wrong way round. Yeah, so a fascinating bit of video game history there. So thank you, Jan, for messaging me about that. So we've got the Steyr Mannlicher TMP. I'm not sure the suppressor's modeled very well. It's a bit small and seems sort of stuck on the end. The real TMP has this very large barrel jacket, which is then threaded on the outside for a suppressor. It's not a bad model for the era, I suppose. It's a little bit blocky, of course. The rate of fire seems about right. The really weird thing, of course, is the report. This thing sounds like some sort of ray gun. It is almost literally going pew pew pew. I've not been paying attention, but I think our capacities are a little bit off. I know from having played a lot of the early game and some of the history I've read that this was a classic for game balancing. So if you see like an 18 round capacity where it should be 20 or even less, it's because they started out with a full mag and they've just removed rounds to make it have the reload animation kick in sooner and balance what would otherwise be an overpowered gun.
This is interesting.
So I'm not sure I remember, or didn't remember this being in the game until I saw the gameplay clip, and it all, well, some of it at least, flooded back to me. And so I've looked at this many times over the years in our collection and not made the connection that this was a Counter-Strike gun, so that's quite nice. It's a 22-inch barrel, so relatively short for a long-range rifle, and that's because this was a concept. It's a bit debatable today as to whether this still has a niche, but these are still made as far as I know, and there are one or two others out there. An unusual looking rifle, which is probably why it was selected for the game. We're looking at a 10 round capacity in the game. Well, this mag's 5 rounds, but there is a 10 round extended mag available, and I think the game model does depict that with all of about 3 polygons. Something that the game cannot depict is the funky built-in bipod. So the front bit of the handguard pivots down to give you a quick deploy bipod that doesn't get in the way, doesn't add any extra weight. A really neat idea. And of course, like so many Counter-Strike guns, it is in fact mirrored the wrong way round. I'll try not to harp on that too much because we know the reasons why now. Now this pistol I do fondly remember from OG Counter-Strike days. I don't think I ever played Source, which I think is the version we're watching here, but a lot of stuff carried over, including the 92s, 92Gs I think they are in the game. Now the dual wield thing, of course, that needs to be dealt with. It's not something that I think you would ever do unless, I don't know, some sort of emergency situation where you're on your own in very tight quarters and you happen to have two pistols and you've got one chance to put as much fire as you can on the enemy. You might fire away with two pistols. So it can be done, and if you are somewhat ambidextrous, well, if you're not, you can't do it. But if you are, you have a chance. So now my preference in gaming generally is I'll try a bit of dual wield just for the fun of it, but I'll typically revert to just using one at a time. Oh dear, pause there. Wow, the ultimate tribute, getting sprayed on the wall in a Counter-Strike game. The depictions of the UMP, this one included, maybe I'm reading into it, but it looks like there are bright marks on the side of the receiver, like the receiver's made of some sort of metal. Now, the UMP is extremely lightweight, relies a great deal on glass reinforced polymer, just like a Glock frame, but it's throughout the gun. With these relatively early graphics, I don't think we ever really get the sense of it being a different material than the other guns. Maybe it's more of an imitation in graphics than a mistake, but that's just my impression. Gameplay terms, a harder hitting, slower firing submachine gun offers a bit of variety, so it does fit.
Oh, this is interesting because technically, like, weapons like this in real life in the military, you technically never use them. So you see the high machinery, like you play in Valorant and stuff. Like, I'm actually curious to know what the fuck he thinks about it, because like technically this stuff you do not really use that. You technically can use it. Do you know where do you use it? On top of a fucking like military jeep, bro. Like you don't walk around with this in your hands for mostly particular reason, mostly because a lot of assault weapons and just like uh just weapons are just better. Like they're just better, and you don't look goofy look walking around because because you look like fucking Rambo looking like trying to fucking. But these guns are not used in the military, at least from my knowing, unless it's like on top of like a jeep, an helicopter. Like why would you when you have a fucking M16 that's fucking like is just better in every way?
Right, we're well past my era of Counter-Strike now. Although I did download and try Counter-Strike Go. I was surprised to see the Negev make an appearance, because if you get a light machine gun of that nature, 5.56 light machine gun in a game, it's usually the Minimi. It seems it's a bit too portable, but then that's fair to say of all machine guns in first-person shooters, is that they seem to be a bit too much like assault rifles.
Yeah, exactly. Too portable because like the difference in weight, you don't see it. A bullet is kind of heavy in real life. Do you understand that like there's more than 13 bullets in it? Like there's like 200. Do you understand like 200 bullets? Like it's quite heavy as fuck, and you just don't fucking like do your jogging with a fucking like with a fucking suppression weapons. Like basically these weapons are considered suppression weapons because basically you just bombard certain zones, right? From an helicopter, a jeep, or something. You just like light up, so you start firing at a dangerous zone, so the people fucking so people that are like in the zone are forced to go back to in cover, and it allows for military progress, so military like geographical progress. So basically, imagine you're on a map, there's a bunker, right? And basically, you use this type of weapon, you fire on the fucking bunker for 5 fucking minutes. And basically, the bunker, because of that, people in the bunker, they have to hide and they cannot fucking shoot back because of the suppression shots that you do. And thanks to that, a troop like a battalion troop, like basically can go safely through like a zone that is like technically like covered or defended by a bunker. These are like the real use of these weapons. Technically, there are many uses, but like this is one that I find really interesting.
Rifles. I think we've covered that before on the series. Having said that, though, it is relatively light for a 5.56 machine gun. But what we see is the player's having to switch to his knife constantly so that he's not encumbered by the machine gun. And I don't need to tell anyone at home that's not how life works. So you'd have to, of course, throw the machine gun away or hand it to an assistant or something, I don't know, and then run around with your knife and then get hold of another gun somewhere. You're gaming the system, of course.
Watch some Gen Z fucking dude watch this video and fucking tell the dude I can do that with a fucking machine gun, and then watch him do like the Fortnite dance with a fucking like a mini gun, just running around bunny hopping.
By doing that, because it's almost like in a first-person shooter, if the weapon's not equipped, it's not on you. If you take a step back from your gaming head and just watch people running around, it does strike you as a bit odd that, oh, suddenly he's running faster, but he's still carrying the same weight. Another sort of early 2000s favourite, the FNP90. So this version is depicted with iron sights on the rail. Now the versions we've got have a sight-through set of iron sights built into that rail, so you can either put an optical sight on top of the rail, or you just peer through the block of metal that is the sight. I very much doubt the modelers had access to a real P90 to check that, quite possibly didn't even care. Not something you'd see from reference images. So most in-game guns, even today, are modelled from reference images. Right away, though, my eyes locked straight onto that iconic magazine on top of the gun, and at first I thought, oh, it's some weird opaque magazine that doesn't show the rounds, but it does show those transverse rounds, which as I'm sure you know, move to the rear, and there's a very clever rotary follower in the mag that rotates them and then pushes them into the weapon. We don't see any of that action happening. It's a solid, or rather it's a flat texture that doesn't do anything. Dealing here with a relatively basic game by modern standards, and it's not alone in older games in depicting the P90 without showing you the rounds moving. And as far as models go, it looks fine when it's static, but when it's firing, nothing's moving.
So what I find like a little sad is that like it doesn't compare like the recoil, the real recoil of weapons compared to their like Counter-Strike video game counterparts. Like it would have been fun to hear like what is the actual recoil for like some of these weapons, making them like usable or not in these situations. But anyway.
Things have moved on by this point, so we're still in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. The weapons are modelled much more accurately, with a lot more detail. We're no longer ejecting to the wrong side of the weapon, and we've got some updated stuff from later in the 2000s, and one of those bits of kit is the FN Scar, and the Mark 20 is kind of, as I say, on the top end of a DMR, bottom end of a sniper rifle, and it looks cool. It embraces that desert tan aesthetic that modern firearms have adopted, partly in recognition, or in large part in recognition of the fact that black is actually not a great colour for a firearm. It tends to stick out quite a lot against camouflage clothing, against the environment. Solid black is not what you want, which is why from at least the Second World War onwards people were camming up their weapons. So it tells us a little bit about the era that this version of the game was produced in, and it's not a bad depiction for, this is not milsim, this is a competitive first person shooter. And my first thought there is that was a hell of a long-range shot. A, for a video game shotgun, because they're notoriously short-ranged, with a massive amount of scatter.
Yeah, so in real life, shotguns, you can basically be a sniper with it. It's not a fucking like a zombie shotgun. It doesn't spray like this. It sprays like this over 100 meters or 200 meters. Sprays like this and then like this, right? Not like, it doesn't sprays like this. What sprays like this are claymores. Way different. Claymores are basically mines. Basically a claymore is basically a mine that in video games, mines are like the thing that like you put on the ground like this. Claymores are a thing that like you put on the ground like this, and basically you walk to it and it just explodes with like a lot of like goodies and Easter presents, and also like the late Christmas presents that were forgotten by Santa Claus.
And B, that's a hell of a shot for a weapon with no stock, with a very short barrel. So it's kind of like from the sort of real world perspective, you would struggle to achieve that, and even from the video game perspective, you wouldn't expect to be able to achieve that. So that one took me by surprise. It's the Mag 7, which is just a really wacky pistol shotgun, effectively, from South Africa. Now the thing about these sort of South African funnies, as you might call them, is, and it's absolute ingenious design that's gone into a lot of them, but a lot of them are of questionable utility outside of, I suspect, what most of them are designed for, which is defense of property. So lots of firepower at close range. You hopefully won't need it, but if you do, there's a lot of firepower on hand. So they don't really lend themselves to military or even police adoption, and this one certainly didn't. Oh, this is like some sort of haunting, some sort of ghost from my past. I remember as a student lurking the forums for Counter-Strike and seeing a new animation for the M4, and the player character yanks on the forward assist to chamber around, and instantly I was on there with a comment saying that's not correct, and I had convinced myself that they had fixed that, but in whatever version of the original game this is, they haven't. Wow, I didn't think I'd see that again. So, to be clear, it's the bit at the back that looks like a bar behind the carrying handle is what you're supposed to pull on to cock an AR-15, M16, M4. Why am I talking about it? Well, I can show you. So the way the gun's supposed to work, now bearing in mind everything's on the wrong side because we're back to left-handed but flipped, and you're supposed to pull on this to cock the weapon. What you're not supposed to do is pull on this because it doesn't do anything.
Ah, so basically, yeah, is it just wanted to make it look cool?
What this is a forward assist, which assists the bolt forward. That's why it's called that. Right, we've moved.
Let me just check out. I just want to check out if my ex-girlfriend left me no messages. She did. She didn't. She will never text me ever again. But like, just a joke that like I have with myself that she might. In which like I check anyway. Sorry.
We've advanced into the source engine, and the M4's looking better, but we've carried over another quirk from the original game. I don't really know where this has come from. This is the dust cover. It covers the gun from dust, or the bolt. And whenever you cock the rifle, it springs open. What Counter-Strike does, for no reason at all, is flap this thing open and shut. Now, it's possible that they have seen a machine gun, I can't think of a type that does this, but they do exist, where there is a dust cover that sort of opens and shuts, but it's more just loose and is flapping in the breeze kind of thing. This is sprung. It's held flat against the side, doesn't appreciably move when you shoot the weapon, so that's a weird one. It's not a bad depiction of an M4, apart from those annoying technical details. Right, another slight frustration. We've moved on. We've got the bolt release being used to chamber around after a reload. Unfortunately, that's done regardless of when you reload. So if you were to fire half a magazine, replace it with a fresh magazine, you just have to pull the trigger. You don't need to do anything else. I tend to think in eras. We're in an era where developers of a game like this aren't putting in quite the same attention to detail for, I guess, fans of military hardware. It's to do with how...
Yeah. Some fucking nerds like are not like fucking putting like the details for fan of military hardware. Back in the days, they didn't even thought that they will sell to someone that is like to someone that is older than fucking 15 years old. So we are far from trying to fucking please the fans of military hardware, you know?
How much you value gameplay versus how much you value technical detail. And just like in the movies, it's just slide your scale where you like, because you won't have time to do both of those to the best of your ability. Not without years, and yeah, I guess potentially money does come in as well. That's a really interesting bit of evolution there. First, the original Counter-Strike model, very low poly, no real moving parts. Here's one I prepared earlier. So we're talking, of course, about the Kalashnikov assault rifle. The dust cover selector here.
Good old
AK-47 is literally just a flat part of the texture of that bit of the receiver. Way lower detail, and it's the earlier machined receiver AK, just the plain old AK, often called the AK-47. In contrast to that super simple early model, the source version, although it's still on the wrong side, we now have that moving safety selector. The bolt is coming back and forth, and there's so much more detail. Like the cocking handle looks the right shape, the contour of the bolt is there. The first model had this weird like square cocking handle, like they just slapped a couple of polygons on there and forgot to change their shape. Not knocking it, it's a very early and kind of grassroots developed game, so that's not a criticism, it's just a reflection of the period it was made in. So as is usually the case, the capabilities of the weapon aren't badly done, so the rate of fire is about right, the sound is okay for the period. I'm noticing some fairly pronounced recoil, obviously with the crosshairs that diverge to indicate likely dispersion, and you get muzzle climb. That's pretty fair. This is an amazing piece of industrial design, among other things, but the considerable mass of the bolt carrier and the big long piston that lives in here, and to some extent the recoil energy just of the cartridge, which is higher than something like 5.56, all contribute to quite a bit of muzzle rise and quite a bit of felt recoil. It's not a lot of recoil, but you know you've fired it, more so than something like an AR-15. So they're doing their best to reflect that, I think. Finally, we've got the last of the three eras of Counter-Strike, if you like. So what, 2012? We've moved on to the AKM, specifically the AKM-N, because it has the side rail for, and I think it's a coincidence, but the N stands for night, as in night sights. So that's a legitimate variant. So if anyone's looking at that and thinking, what's that gubbins on the left-hand side? That's legit. And of course the graphics have come on massively since the previous games. Way more detail, way more fidelity as to the real world gun. It sort of handles and moves around on the screen more convincingly. It's kind of a bit intangible, but it just looks, you know, they've tried to keep pace with developments in modern shooters, and done a good job for even that is quite a few years ago now. Please do come and visit us if you're in the UK, or in the future if you're able to visit the UK, at our Leeds Museum, the Royal Armouries Museum. We've got Fort Nelson down on the south.
Yeah, visit museums, you fucking nerds. Stop watching these fucking videos and get off YouTube and do it for all the people that will never fucking do it because we're too lazy. Go to museums or whatever. Fuck, do the normal stuff people do. That's actually like this was like cool, interesting video. Really sad that like he didn't compare. It talked about the recoils. Like what actually will have, like I was curious is the recoil, because like a lot of weapons basically really fancy, really cool looking. Hey bro, like with the recoil like this, you do not shoot the way you want. You have to actually like fucking like some weapons you need to fucking, you don't take training, but you need to take like a couple weeks to fucking get used to the fucking recoil on your fucking shoulder each time you fucking pull the trigger. You get me? So yeah, but good video game spot. We're on the spot. Subscribe, like, it's a small indie company. Let's try to do their best to fucking like get a couple likes, a couple views. Okay, so yeah. Anyway,